Hey everyone, and welcome back to the San Francisco Wine Trading Company. I'm Jason, and today we are actually talking about Elijah Craig. All right. Now, Elijah Craig is the brand of bourbon coming out from the Heaven Hills Distillery, but Elijah Craig, the man, was actually the evangelical Baptist preacher in Kentucky in the late 1700s that actually is touted to be the inventor of bourbon, aka the father of bourbon. Again, it's said that he was the first to actually put his whiskey distillate in new charred American oak, inventing bourbon. Now, of course, it is contested whether he is or isn't, and I am not going to get into that debate with many comments down below. But of course, a good resource to find out whether he was or wasn't is actually Fred Minnick's book, Bourbon, The Rise, the Fall, the Rebirth of an American Whiskey. Now, what I do have to say about Elijah Craig, though, is a few years back when the bourbon got so popular that it was started to get harder and harder to find, many distilleries actually kind of took away their year designation, 12-year, 10-year, 18-year, 23 years, because it was so popular, or they actually made it so hard to find that they became unicorns and the prices skyrocketed. What Elijah Craig did, though, was say, yes, we did do a 12-year-old, and yes, there is a lot more demand for it, but we won't take that away. What we will do, though, is actually create something completely new. We're going to take some of our 8-year-old barrels and 12-year-old barrels and we'll blend it to make the Elijah Craig small batch, which will be very easy to find and relatively affordable at the mid-20 range. But we will not pull away our popular 12-year-old. We're actually going to improve it. And that they did. They made the barrel-proof 12-year-old. And it became super popular, super delicious, and so much so that in 2017, the barrel B517 actually took the top honors of Whiskey Advocate's top 20. Actually, Ralph, can you show them the bottle? Thank you. Now, of course, that one is the newer rendition, the B520, but again, they do a fantastic job with their barrel proof. Now, the small batch actually got so popular that they decided to do different renditions of the small batch. Again, their new rendition is the Toasted Barrel, super limited, super allocated as well. But again, from what I hear, it's really good. Actually, Ralph, can you show them the bottle too? All right, thank you, Ralph. And because the small batch, Elijah Craig small batch, is so readily available, tastes great, and relatively affordable at the $20 or mid-20s price point, has become the staff favorite here for the whiskey to utilize in whiskey cocktails. And we're going to do 3 today. First off, we'll start off with the old-fashioned. Now I'm talking about the 1860s old-fashioned, not the 1950s with its muddled fruit and neon red cherries. The only upgrade that we'll do is we're going to utilize some Demerara syrup instead of the ice cube. We'll start off with half an ounce of the Demerara syrup. We'll utilize the Angostura bitters because at this point in time, it's possibly the most popular bitters to utilize anyways. And we'll do the 2 ounces of the small batch Elijah Craig. Again, we'll build this in glass, and you could use the big chunk of ice if you could make it. Unfortunately, I don't. So we're going to utilize just regular cubed ice. Now, I'm actually going to pour in quite a bit, and you're probably thinking, Jason, why are you diluting my drink? And actually, the reverse is actually happening here because ice keeps things cold and ice keeps ice cold. So the dilution would be minimal and it'll cool down your cocktail without diluting too much of your drink. Now I'll go about 30 stirs or until the glass is nice and frosty. And there you have it. To boost up some of that citrus notes, I will do 1 peel of orange. And that is definitely enough orange for this drink of the Old Fashioned. All right, and there you have it, the Old Fashioned. Oh, that's beautiful. All right, sticking with that era, 1870s, we'll do a different cocktail. This time around, it is invented in the Manhattan Club in New York City by Dr. Ian Marshall. It's touted to be one of the classic favorite whiskey cocktails, and that is, again, the Manhattan, utilizing the sweet vermouth, bitters, and of course a whiskey, in this case the Elijah Craig small batch. And we'll start it off. We'll actually do 1 ounce of sweet vermouth. We're featuring the Contratto sweet vermouth this time around. We'll do, again, Angostura bitters. I like only 2, but you can definitely use more if you like that aroma. And of course, 2 ounces of your bourbon or whiskey. In this case, the Elijah Craig. All right. Before I stir though and add in ice, let's prep the glass. I like to garnish with the Luxardo cherries because they are super delicious. I'll do 1 cherries and that'll be enough. All right, let's get this rolling. Again, utilize your ice to the nth degree and stir. All right, again, about 30 to 50 stirs, depending on how cold you want it or more diluted. But usually I'll stir it until the glass is frosty. All right. Oh, don't forget your bar stir spoon or stir. I'm utilizing a chopstick. All right, strain into your glass. And here is your classic Manhattan. A little short on the pour, but it's at home, I can make another one. Here you go, Ralph. Perfect. All right, and the last whiskey cocktail I'm going to do is actually one of my favorites. Second only to the whiskey sour, is called the Improved Whiskey Cocktail. Now, this was popular back in the 1850s and all the way up to possibly Prohibition time for the utilization of the syrups, different gum syrups, orgeat, pineapple syrups, grenadine. All right, and that is what we are going to actually utilize. Today, we're going to utilize the orgeat, which is an almond syrup. That's because the Elijah Craig small batch, I get a lot of roasted nuts and citrus notes, which I want to accent. And definitely you could use just the gum syrup, but again, orgeat. All right, with that, to boost up some of its characteristics, I'm actually going to use just a tiny hint of absinthe. This is the St. George's absinthe. They do a fantastic job, but that extra anise and fennel kind of characteristics really elevates this drink. To add a little bit more depth and flavor on the back end of the palate, I'm going to utilize the Luxardo Maraschino Cherry Liqueur. Now, this is also a syrup, and it'll actually sweeten it up a little bit more and add that cherry-esque kind of characteristics as well. Last but not least, with this extra additive is the Pierre Ferrand's dry curacao, or triple sec, or orange liqueur, however you want to call it. All right, and I will utilize about the ½ ounce of that to bring up that citrus notes to it. Angostura bitters. All right, this time around, I'm going to utilize 5 dashes just to bring up the aromatics. And lastly, our Elijah Craig small batch bourbon. A nice big 2 ounces. Oh, actually, I do 2½ ounces because this is my drink. All right, and again, with this to prep our glass, I will utilize the cherries just to boost up that cherry-esque notes. You could definitely use a lemon peel or orange peel to that too. And add our ice. And give that a stir once again. Now again, I don't know if you guys can see it, but this is actually Elijah Craig's mixing glass here. Full crystal, very cool. And the reason why we are actually featuring Elijah Craig is actually they have a national sweepstakes for you guys to win some swag, namely the bar tool equipment, the glassware here, the peeler, some of the Hawthorne strainers, and some bar spoons. And I'm getting sidetracked because I'm pouring the cocktail here, so give me a second. Alright, there you have it, the improved whiskey cocktail. Oh yeah, oh, I drink this all day. Anyways, for the Elijah Craig sweepstake, again, you have a chance to win some bar swag for yourself. But what's more important is that they are actually utilizing this to support the Restaurant Workers Community Foundation. Now, this is a foundation nonprofit that started by restaurant workers for restaurant workers to help them financially, small businesses, you know, to get non-interest loans or no interest loans and everything like that. And the way you can help is by participating in this sweepstake. You could sign up on their website for a chance to win, but each submission, Elijah Craig would actually donate $1 for every submission up to 100 grand to support the Restaurant Workers Community Foundation. And now there's different ways through that website, through Instagram, and through texting. I'll definitely link all the information that you need down in the description below. So check that out and support. Well, this is Jason from San Francisco Wine Trading Company, and here's to ya. Cheers.